This guy started learning magic at the age of 3, and when he was 5 years old, all gods blessed him with stats out of this world. It means he has surpassed the maximum level for this world and can do all kinds of things you have ever imagined. Before I spoiled the fun, let's start the story. At the royal capital, Silford family's detached residence, Rain von Silford, Kane von Silford's older sister, tried to greet her brother but apologized after seeing him changing. Kane told her it was fine, he had just changed anyway. While the older sister complimented his look, Kane remembered he was originally Kazuya Shina a while back. Then he reincarnated in this world and now lives as Kane von Silford, the third son of the Margrave of Gracia. Raine revealed her purpose of visit. Since it's been a while, Kane stayed over. She came to invite him for tea and a stroll in the garden afterward. Actually, Kane was planning to go to the guild, so he apologized and promised to fulfill her request next time. A maid greeted her in the hallway and wondered why she wasn't with Kane. After hearing that Kane went to the guild, the maid was surprised he went there again and revealed that Kane goes there every day, even from his other residence. Ever since Kane regained his memories of his past life at the age of 3, he had secretly practiced magic. When he received his baptism at the age of 5, the gods revealed the reason he was reincarnated. They asked him to develop this world, and he ended up receiving insane blessings with absolutely ridiculous stats. However, the age restriction was the only thing he couldn't overcome, since adventurer registration starts at the age of 12. Now that he is 12, he can finally become the adventurer he always dreamed of. He wants to travel to different countries and towns, even to places that are not on the map. He can't wait to see more of this world. Still, there is another problem, because his stats are totally over the top. Essentially, they're off the charts and cheat tier. The more he looks at them, the more ridiculous they seem. Although the king and some high-ranking officials were already aware of it, they kept it secret because he could be considered a national threat. Magic and blessing are only supposed to go up to level 5, but his was at 10. He has already gotten into some trouble because of it, so he really needs to be more careful not to draw attention. His beautiful mother, Sarah von Silford, the second wife, noticed him as he went downstairs and asked if he was going out. Kane confirms it and informs his mother that he will go to the guild. Sarah noticed he looked a little pale and asked if he was overdoing it. Even though they have lived separately since he was made a baron at 10, Kane's mom really does notice everything. So he told her he was fine and that he would just stop by the guild briefly today. Since Kane has always been more responsible than most kids, Sarah can't help but worry. She told him to take care, and he responded, yes, adding he would be back soon. He walked through the market until he reached the guild and went inside. A receptionist with the right size of melons welcomed him and observed that he had been coming daily lately. Kane agreed with her and hoped for a good request. The guild was quite crowded today because of a surge of rookie adventurers. As a result, all the fun requests are being snatched up. A man holding a booze bump into him, and upon seeing he was just a kid, the man told the G-rank rookie not to just stand there daydreaming. Kane apologized but cursed inside because he wasn't a G-rank but actually an A-rank. Well, it's no surprise because adventurer registration starts at 12, and everyone starts at G-rank. Since he was an A-rank, he carried a gold card. Apparently, it's unheard of for a brand new adventurer to be A-rank, but a lot happened recently. When he was newly registered, the receptionist and the guildmaster didn't believe he defeated goblins and a green lizard that a G-rank can't handle, but the two individuals vouched for him, claiming that Kane saved the princess and the duke's daughter when he was 10. With that, the misunderstanding was cleared, and the guildmaster in the capital gave him a special promotion to A-rank. Getting involved in unnecessary trouble is annoying, and it would also cause trouble for the guild. He looked at the board and saw a request for a training to level up that was only available for A-rank and above, who are capable of both magic and physical combat. He has always wanted to help train new guild members, so he wants to try it, and handed the request paper to the receptionist. After reading that it was a training guide in the forest, she told the kid she would contact the client and get back to him with the details shortly. As he was so excited about this quest, the receptionist reminded him of the increasing number of adventurers and revealed that a few had suddenly gone missing. Kane assumes they may have moved to another town or failed the quest. If that is the case, then it will be fine, but some of them vanished right after accepting a request, so she was worried. Well, maybe she was just overthinking it and told the kid to be careful. His life was precious. Before reincarnating, Kane admired light novel worlds. He thought adventuring in a world of swords and magic would be fun and easy. But in reality, adventuring is super dangerous, and plenty of people die on the job. Sure, the missing adventurers are concerning, but he can't wait for the new quest. He wondered if the trainee was a newbie noble or a newly registered adventurer, but after a few days, when the day arrived, he was surprised to see that they were Millie and Nina. They were his private tutors for 3 years when he was 5 years old. Since he hardly left the estate back then, they brought him outside the territory's capital and taught him all kinds of things. They last saw each other during the monster forest outbreak, and Kane was amazing back then. They cling to him and notice that he is no longer a 3-inch sword. He has grown a bit. Kane wondered if he was truly qualified to train them, given that they were far more experienced as adventurers than he was. They confirmed it by clinging more closely to him as they called him sensei. I can say that the saying, life is like a wheel, is true in this scene. Sometimes you are at the top, and sometimes at the bottom. Well, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I will introduce you again to our MC, Kane von Silford, a 12-year-old and already a rookie adventurer. He was beloved by the gods and blessed with absurd divine protections. He is an apostle of the gods who doesn't know the meaning of restraint, and that is the kind of adventurer he is. As they were about to start training, a man was hiding behind the tree, observing them. The training began with Millie charging in using her sword, but Kane easily countered her attacks. Nina, on the other hand, launched her magic, but Kane easily dodged it. After some time of training, they call it a day, with Kane telling them their flaws. While Millie was a bit slow to react to attacks from the left, Nina had a significant opening during her chanting. He wondered if they could shorten her chant, but Kane was the only one who could use chantless magic. Millie felt so frustrated because she couldn't even land a hit. Even if Kane has the blessing of God, he is just way too strong. She asked why he was only an A rank, given that he was supposed to be an S rank, considering his power. Besides, he has been chantless since he was a little kid and even made them a national treasure class magic bag. Millie waved goodbye, promising to do her best every day. Kane informed them he might be late tomorrow, as he was still studying at school. They almost forgot about that. He was still just a 12-year-old who needed to attend the academy, but despite that, he already holds a title and serves as the head of his house. In the Royal Academy, Tellus and Silk keep calling his name. Kane apologized for thinking deeply and inquired about their subject. There was a part in today's lecture that Silk didn't understand, so she wanted to ask about it. On the other hand, Tellus looked nervous as he asked if he was okay. Well, he was fine. He was just thinking about whether he could come up with some new kind of game or entertainment. Speaking of that, Tellus played the reversey game Kane made with his father, and it was so good. Tellus is this country's princess, and Silk is the daughter of the Duke. They're both his classmate at the academy, and were his fiancés. When they were 10, they were attacked by a horde of orcs, and Kane happened to save them, which led to their engagement. In this world, polygamy is the norm, and aside from these two girls, he also has a third fiancée. Silk wanted to try playing his prototype when he was done, and he agreed. Jealous, the princess slammed the desk and embarrassingly told them she also wants to play with them. Of course, they both were invited. However, he looks a bit tired lately, so they suggest not pushing himself too hard. After school, he wore his adventurer attire and went to the guild. As he stood before the quest board, he realized that after school, he took on adventure requests and then always thought of new inventions, but regardless, he didn't feel tired at all. He heard a party cursing because one of their members had run off, but the girl clarified that he was nowhere to be found. Letia, the receptionist, apologized for making him wait. He handed her a bag, a delivery for his regular guest, and questioned if something had happened. If he could remember the thing they talked about before, about the missing adventurers, it seems another one disappeared again, and the people who took the request with him are really confused. If multiple people are vanishing, Kane assumes that the guild would have already received some information. Letia thinks so too, and told him to be careful. As he walked and thought of the adventurers who vanished without a trace, he saw Millie in the alley, wounded. Millie felt relieved upon seeing him, and informed him that Nina had been taken. Kane healed her and learned about what happened. Basically, when Millie arrived late at the training grounds, she saw Nina surrounded by a group that looked like bandits. Nina went ahead alone to meditate, which made Millie regret letting her. The question is, why will they go after Nina? Well, it may be because they were after the magic bag he made for them. After all, it was a national treasure level quality that one would want. Still, only a handful of people are aware of those bags. But recalling multiple adventurers are missing lately, Kane wondered if Nina had become one of them. His conclusion makes sense because rather than just a theft, Millie felt Nina was caught up in whatever was behind those disappearances. But why do they target adventurers? Kane had no idea, and blamed himself for not taking Lydia's warning seriously. Millie grabbed his hand and revealed that her wounds were caused by Nina's magic. Nina knew she was there at that time and had a plan in mind. She mutters something, which is, call. Though she didn't speak it aloud, Millie could read her lips because they had been partners for years. She read through her mouth and movements but was slow to dodge her attacks and ended up getting hurt. Kane extended his hand and declared that they would go to rescue Nina. They went to the forest, and after seeing a bloodstain, Millie assumed it was from Nina. Kane activated his search ability and realized that time had passed, so they might not be nearby anymore. He suggested following the footprint and searching the surroundings. As they searched around, Millie became confused about why Nina had fired in her direction. Kane also thinks about this after seeing the traces earlier and concludes that Nina was firing in Millie's direction to help her escape. Or maybe there was another reason that only Nina knew. They saw a pouch on the ground and confirmed that it was the magic pouch Kane had given her. They assume it is a clue from Nina because if someone besides the three of them tries to carry it, their arm can be twisted because it is especially designed to add the full weight of its contents. The kidnapper didn't know Millie was there at the time because if they had known, they also would have captured her. With that conclusion, Kane was certain the kidnapper didn't realize they were after them and was sure they headed in the direction where the pouch was taken. They plan on heading in that direction and using the search ability to check the details. About why the bandits resorted to kidnapping, Millie assumed it was because Nina was an elf. The Liebert territory where elves live was once known for kidnappings, so it is not impossible. But they still don't know if all the missing adventurers were elves. They continue searching and stop at the cliff. Kane activates his search ability and learns that there is a signal 2 kilometers ahead. He detects several humans there and concludes it might be their hideout. He carried her and started flying to the location, hoping Nina was safe. Inside a cabin in the middle of the forest while Nina was tied up, the kidnapper was glad to have captured an elf this time, because it was going to sell for a fortune. Aside from her, there are also several humans captured. The pervert touched her face and planned to take a little taste first, but his comrade warned him not to damage their goods. Nina turned her head, shaking, and recalled the signal word she had given to Millie, which was call. She knew Millie noticed her signal and wondered if she managed to reunite with Kane. She also worried about Millie's injury. Meanwhile, the two had already arrived and saw the 2 bandits. Kane used his water orb to capture them, and then activate his search ability. There are about 14 people inside, and a group of 6 is gathered in a spot at the back. Kane can sense Nina's magic and is certain she is one of them. He plans on creating a diversion, but Millie wants to do it instead. She will lure the bandits while Kane will use his search ability to save and heal them. While the bandits are discussing leaving the capital tonight, one of their members alerts them of the burning stables. The bandits follow him to put out the fire, but one of them stops upon noticing Kane shushing the captured. Before he could alert the others, Kane swiftly silenced him by knocking him down. This bandit won't be able to move for a while because a few of his bones were broken. Kane untied Nina and apologized for making her wait. He informs her that Millie created a diversion out front and told everyone to come out. Nina told him to go to Millie because if they waited, she would be in danger, as one of those guys was a former A-rank adventurer, and Millie couldn't take him alone. It's the reason why she signals Millie to bring him and urges him to go now. Kane understood the situation and worried about Millie. Speaking of Millie, she was busy knocking out the ugliness of the kidnappers and wondered if Kane managed to rescue Nina. She asked why they were kidnapping adventurers and learned the obvious. They sell them to people who want cheap labor, believing no one will care if a drifter adventurer suddenly disappears. About women, they were useful for other work. The bandits notice her cute face and deduce that she came to rescue someone. However, she will just get sold off too and will become a little plaything. As the morons gathered to capture her, Millie closed her eyes and recalled her training with Kane. She got this. She struck the bandits one by one, stating that sparring with Kane was tougher than this. She flinches upon sensing something and manages to dodge, but when she turned, she received a fatal kick and dropped her knees to the ground. Kane arrived and shouted Millie's name worriedly. The bandits were surprised to see a kid sneaking around but were shocked when Kane activated the body enhancement and moved to Millie in an instant. He healed her and informed her that Nina and the others were all safe. He planned on handling the rest, but Millie was determined to finish it herself. She charged in with her sword, but the bandana guy blocked her attack. Millie put more force into it and then kicked his ugliness, making his ass clean the floor. He asked for help, but his comrade just sighed, irritated with the rats showing up. In a swift move, the hooded man appeared near Millie and swung his dagger, but Kane was quick to move and block it. While the hooded man realized this kid wasn't ordinary, Kane was certain this was the A-rank adventurer Nina mentioned. A former A-rank adventurer, to be precise. When Nina showed up, the hooded man clicked his tongue before throwing his dagger and running towards Nina. While Kane deflects all the daggers, Nina tries to be calm as she chants magic. The hooded guy planned on making her his hostage, but Nina managed to cast her fireball in time, burning the ugliness of the hooded man. The man cursed at them for getting his way and told Nina to die. Kane could feel the same feeling before he was reincarnated, and noticed that this hooded man had the same look as the guy who killed him. He became angry and unconsciously created a powerful fireball. Nina tried to stop him, but it was already too late. He couldn't hold it back anymore and ended up destroying the entire forest. Oops. He did it again. After that, they turned the kidnappers over to the guild, and the case of adventurers being targeted became a guild matter. Later on, they found out it was actually a pretty big organization. As for Kane, he got a harsh scolding from the king and his people, and now he is under restricted house arrest. When Millie and Nina visited him, he apologized for not finishing the request they gave him. The two understood his situation and explained the reason they had come. After Nina thanked him for saving her, they simultaneously kissed his cheeks. Blushing like my itchy scratch egg, Kane recalls it was the same when he was 8, but he is already 12 now. Millie agreed and made a measurement, saying he became the wielder of 5-inch swords now. Anyway, they are planning to stay in the capital for a while, but if a new quest comes in, they will head out again. Kane extended his hand and told her that if anything came up, he would love to join them again. Looking at Kane's smiling face, Millie realized he wasn't the same kid he was when he was 8 anymore, and then reached for his hand, agreeing with his offer only if his suspension got lifted. In the Royal Academy, Silk invited Kane to hang out at her place and play Reversi. But our boy has something to do after school. It's been a week since he got put on probation, and he finally got permission today. He went to the forest and restored all the natural lifestyle. Now that it was done, he just needed to fix the cabin. He activates the all repair, structure fix, all clean, and building cleaning. In a few moments, it was done. Although this cabin might be used by others or destroyed by Kane, he was certain that someone had originally owned it. He sat on a rocking chair and felt somehow strangely peaceful. Every day in this world has been hectic since he reincarnated, and he hasn't had many quiet and peaceful moments like this. He fell asleep, and upon seeing a silhouette of a girl, he extended his hand and called the lady Sylvia. When the girl asked who he was, he opened his eyes and asked who she was. This girl is Rachel, the owner of this house. He apologized and later ended up at a table with her, sipping a cup of tea. After telling her what had happened to the house and how he had fixed it, Rachel thanked him. Kane apologized for doing sorts of things in her house and even ended up sleeping. Rachel usually lives in the royal capital, so this place has basically been empty for ages. Since it had been raining for the last few days, she was worried about leaks. Upon seeing it was clean, Rachel asked if he had cleaned it. She appreciated him for taking care of it, and was certain that her dad would be happy too. Her mom died when she was little, and her dad raised her all by himself until he got sick a little over a year ago. They weren't exactly a wealthy family or anything, which is why this grave was somewhat unimpressive. After her dad died, she had to do everything she could just to survive, and she has been working all sorts of jobs in the capital to build a proper grave. However, she hasn't saved any money at all. All her jobs pay terribly, and living in the capital costs a ton too. With that, she decided to get some stones herself and came back. After all, rocks in the mountains are free. Kane has one question. Assuming she can even cut out a stone, how exactly does she plan to carry back a grave-size rock by herself? Embarrassed, Rachel covers her face for her idiocy. Since she had already helped our boy a lot, he offered to help her. Honestly, he could just use creation magic to make one, but he thinks it just feels wrong. They start walking and ask if she has any idea where to find the stones. She showed him the necklace her mom had left her and revealed that her mom had gotten it from her dad when she was young. It is a rare stone that sparkles depending on the angle. Her dad was a hunter and found that stone inside the cave when he slipped while chasing prey in the mountain. Her dad might be tough, but he couldn't beat illness. Seeing that she started to turn gloomy, Cain called her name. Rachel returned to her cheerful face and continued talking. Her mom treasured the stone and said it was a special stone that granted wishes. Rachel was just a kid back then, so she believed her. When her mom died, Rachel went up that mountain to search for more and wished to bring her mom back to life. She couldn't even climb down the cliff that time, but luckily her dad found her and brought her back home. That's why she knew where to find the stone they needed. With that said, they started climbing the mountain, facing goblins on their way and crossing over a ladder. After that, Rachel seemed so exhausted, so Cain suggested taking a break, but the girl declined. Besides, she thinks they are close now. Seeing that she was almost near the cliff, Cain warned her to be careful since it had been raining lately, so the ground would get slippery. She was about to respond that she knew, but suddenly slipped and fell. She accepted her fate and apologized for dragging Cain around with someone as useless as her, but was surprised when Cain jumped to save her. She was amazed to see that they were floating, but was startled when he informed her that they were going to fly down. She shook her head and wondered if Cain was a natural-born heartbreaker. As they slowly landed, Cain told her to look in a specific location where a cave was visible. They arrived near the cave, but before entering, Cain told her to wait for a moment, and he would scout the cave first. He activated his search ability and found out that there might be a monster or something. He headed in first to take care of the monster. He thinks Rachel might want to come along, but he was relieved she didn't because it would be easier if he were alone. He cast icicle rain towards the spiders, freezing them. As he put the important part in his magic bag, he suddenly felt something weird. There's something in the place beside the spiders. As if in a queue, Rachel arrived, shouting his name because her admirers were chasing her. He realized this place was the goblin nest and then prepared his vacuum blade. He ordered Rachel to get down, and she literally got down, face first on the ground. He launched the blade towards the enemies and controlled it, slicing them all in no time. He turned to Rachel, asking if she was all right. The girl seems fine but was really startled, not expecting the monster to come back. Suddenly, a spider jumped towards her, but she surprisingly slapped it with a stone. After finishing the last monster, Cain exclaimed how surprised he was to learn that she was strong. Well, it was something her father taught her. She needs to use whatever she has to survive. Strike before you're struck. She looked at the stone she was holding and noticed that it was the same stone as the pendant. This means the source is actually located much deeper inside the cave. He activated the light ball to illuminate the surroundings and was amazed to see the stones they were finding. It was too dark earlier, that's why they didn't notice it. So he asked the girl if this was the right place. Rachel apologized for being childish and admitted that part of her believed in the childish legend, because she still hoped she could meet her dad. As she started picking up the stones, Cain tried to use his creative magic, even though it was his first time using it. He activated the creative magic combined with memory projecting. A mist slowly covered the place until a silhouette of a man appeared. Seeing Rachel confused as she asks if it was her dad, Cain thinks he failed. As he thought, without an image of her father, this won't work. A photo is out of the question, but even a portrait would help. To his surprise, the projectile he had created was actually her dad, which was completely different from what he had imagined. Rachel chuckled with tears as she now believed that what her mom said was true. She tried to talk to her dad, saying she really missed him ever since he'd been gone, but she is doing okay now and living her days calmly. Work is hard, and she keeps failing, but she is doing her best, remembering what he taught her. Someday she wants to be like him and help people, so she begged him to watch over her from heaven with her mom. She will be okay and is doing great. After that, they teleported to her house in an instant, which amazed her. Cain asked if she was sure she'd be okay on her own, and offered to help the next day. Rachel told him she would be fine, and declined his offer. She thanks him, and declares it is her turn now to give her all. She will build a grand statue and thank Cain for the adventure. With that, they say goodbye to each other. In the end, Cain has a question about that phenomenon, and wonders if it was a miracle caused by Rachel's feelings. Butler Colin asked if something was troubling him, but he told him it was nothing and said they would visit his father and the others tomorrow. The next day, Cain gave a present to his two fiancées, and they seemed to like it. After a while, Cain went to the guild and received a personal request from Eden, the guild master of the Adventurers Guild at the Royal Capital Branch. He needs to search for a medicinal herb that's only been found twice. Once, 200 years ago, and once, 100 years ago. It was discovered once near the Western Lake and once in the Monster Forest. It's an extremely rare herb, and an alchemist friend of Eden really wants to get their hands on it. It was just a search request, not a collection one. And as long as Cain just looks for it, that's good enough. Honestly, this is more like an excuse to send Cain to the Western Lake. A request is a request, and he wasn't even expecting Cain to actually find the herb. Still, he was hoping for Cain to take care of that girl. Speaking of that girl, I think this one is his third fiancée, Tefana. After seeing him in the Western Lake, Tefana quickly hugged him. As I already mentioned, she is his third fiancée and the daughter of a duke from the Liebert territory, captain of the Royal Knights in the Kingdom of Esfort. Tefana suddenly had some free time, so she asked her brother and was glad it worked. Cain told her she didn't need to bother her brother Eden, but Tefana reminded him that they were both busy and hardly got to see each other. Besides, their engagement was secret. Plus, it would cause a scene if the Knight Captain and Baron Cain, the hero, were seen dating in the middle of town. Still, their goal was to go all out. Cain didn't know what she meant by go all out, but he finally understood what she meant when she unsheathed her sword and stated she had been looking forward to training with him. Cain prepared his sword, the real sword, and activated the body enhancement. As they clash, Tefana already expected this fast speed from her darling. On the other hand, Cain mentioned how she hit harder than the last time. They stepped back before clashing their swords again. As expected of her darling, there is not a single opening and not a single wasted movement either. What she meant was that he was even stronger than he had been back then, and she was happy about that. But still, it kinda stings a little. She has taken on numerous missions and trained intensely to catch up with him. Cain flipped through the air and swung down his sword, but Tefana managed to block it. However, her sword was cut in half and flew into the water. A while later, Cain was talking to his master, the former king of Esfort and creator god, Yuya Terra Hiraswa Esfort. That's a long name though, but let's just call him Yuya. Cain told him how he had broken Tefana's sword and was worried about it. Even though she had told him not to worry, he tried to repair it, but for some reason, it just wouldn't work. Well, that just means the feelings tied to it are that strong. Some things aren't so easily fixed. But what is his plan about it? Did he just come to sulk and mope? Actually, Cain is on a guild mission to search for a rare herb and figure that Yuya might know something about it. After the long story he told his master, Cain was still worried about Tefana. He knew he couldn't replace the old one, but he was thinking of giving her a new sword as a gift. He wanted to properly finish their date and wanted to see her smile again. The master smiled at him before patting his head. He was really glad Cain didn't make the same choice his dad did and offered to help by creating a new sword for her. With that said, Cain will gonna do a bit of exploring around in this place in the meantime. But the question is, where is he really right now? Isn't it just in the Esfort Kingdom? Well, based on the translation, he is in Fabanil, a world where even if you stay for a year, only a day passes in the real world. He trained here for about 5 years, not too long ago, which means he only missed 5 days in the real world. By the way, there is a monster in this place that produces the highest purity mithril inside its body, and Yuya wants Cain to grab some from it because they will use it to forge the sword. He is pretty sure that the herb his student was looking for was also in that area, and told him not to worry. Given his current strength, he should be back in about 2 months. After that, Cain started his journey and wondered where the thing he was trying to find was. It's been a month since he has searched all over the place, but still hasn't found any monster that matches the description. If he takes too long, people might think he has gone missing for another 5 days again. He wondered if his master memory was starting to go bad, because believe it or not, Yuya had been alive for 110,000 years. Suddenly, he felt an earthquake. He flew above to find what it was and noticed that the mountain was moving. Well, it wasn't really moving because the one he saw was a giant turtle. The surrounding mountains are being devoured, and everything is being eaten away. He recalled the hint his master had given him, which was that the monster he needed to find was incredibly slow, but exceptionally tough. With that, he was certain this one was his target. If he can take down the turtle, he will get on some high-purity mithril. But there is one obvious problem. The monster was too tough, and just looking at it, Cain could already tell this was going to be rough. He raised his hand to use the Flame Sanctuary and the Saint Sanctuary. Then he fired it towards the enormous monster, creating a massive explosion. He thought he had successfully defeated it, but it only received a small crack, almost no damage. He attacks using different kinds of magic, but nothing happens. After 3 days, Cain was cursing and wondering how he was supposed to get the ore out from inside the monster. An idea popped into his mind. He needed to go inside the turtle. He recalled his master not giving him more hints, believing it would be boring if he told him everything. He then approached the turtle, and when it opened its mouth, he flew inside. He couldn't believe he really went inside the turtle and tried to find the ore. He saw a shining thing from afar, and in an instant, he was teleported to a beautiful place. The place was like a complete ecosystem, and had been fully developed in some way. The sky was so bright, and he wondered if it was glowing from magic. He was amazed at the sight, and admitted there was still so much in this world he didn't know. This is so wild, and he wants to come back to explore more when he has time. Upon realizing he stepped on something, he turned his head and saw an angry caterpillar staring at him. He tried to apologize, but the monster pounced at him, so he had no other choice but to get his sword from the magic box and strike the monster. He needs to find the ore before things get more annoying, but when he turned, a horde of caterpillars was ready to attack him. To wrap it quickly, he used infernal earth and blasted the cute monster away. However, more monsters appeared, so he had no other choice but to run, shouting that he really needed to get out of there and go home. This is troublesome. He needs to find the ore quickly, but things just keep piling up. Should he just take them all out at once? No, that might cause even problems. Then what should he do? He noticed a cliff ahead and activated his flying ability. As he was planning on searching from above, a bird suddenly caught him. Did it mistake him for a caterpillar? Despite his situation, Cain was still amazed that the turtle had all sorts of creatures inside. He apologized to the bird before knocking it out. The scene transitioned, and he now has creature comrades whose names are Haku and Gin. He asked the two to help him find the ore and stop in the place where he saw plants, and wondered if this thing was the herb Eden had asked him to find. After a while, Cain was kneeling on the ground, but failed to find the ore. He then rested on Haku's body, and wondered how many days it had been since he entered the turtle's body. He can't help but smile as he recalls how unseen plants and unknown creatures are inside the turtle's body. The place was strangely dim and softly glowing. He sighed and realized something. He looked above, and upon noticing something, he flew into the air. If this is high-purity mithril, then the magical energy inside must be amazing. Finally, he found what he was looking for. He assumes this ore's magical energy is the reason why it is so bright inside the turtle's body, and then starts to collect a good haul. Realizing each one of these crystals provides light to the ore, Cain looks at the whole place before declaring he will only take this one and go. Meanwhile, Yuya was secretly observing him with a smile, mumbling that he was just overthinking it. Cain used his teleportation magic to go back to his master's mansion and greeted him. He then annoyingly told his master that he didn't say it was a turtle. Yuya just chuckled and offered to brew him some coffee before asking if he had found it. Cain answered in the affirmative as he showed him the crystal. However, this is all he could bring back and ask his master if it would be enough. Yayu responds yes, saying he could craft a masterpiece out of it. Cain was worried because if his master went all out, he might create a global-level sword. Yuya assured him he knew, that's why he needed Cain to help him make it. After placing the crystal in the center of the magic circle, Yuya asked if Cain was ready. Cain didn't expect this process and thinks it will be like blacksmithing. Yuya told him blacksmithing was fine too, but it would take time. Basically, it was similar to creation magic. Yuya ordered him to pour a bit of mana into it and imagine the sword he wanted to make. The student complies and pictures out the sword he wants to make for Tefana. In an instant, they managed to create a beautiful sword. Though it was not on the level of the sword Yuya gave to Cain, he adjusted it to match the wielder's strength. He then threw the sheath to the kid. Cain thanks his master and hopes Tefana will like this gift. Well, this is as far as Yuya can go, and the rest was up to Cain. Meanwhile, Tefana seemed to be thinking deeply, so when the knight saw her sigh, they wondered if something was wrong. Cain arrived and greeted Dime, the vice captain. Dime greeted him back and was relieved he had come because their captain had been feeling down lately. He thinks Cain could cheer her up by sparring with her, but the kid just chuckled at his idea. Tefana started panicking when Cain approached him and asked about his sudden visit. Cain just wanted to apologize for what happened last time and bring her a gift, but Tefana clarified it wasn't his fault. It was just that she was weak. She was ashamed of how pathetic she was for also making him worried. To her surprise, Cain handed her a brand new sword. It may be different from her previous sword, but he wants her to try it. Tefana unsheathed the sword and couldn't tell if the strange feeling was because her darling was there or because of the sword. When Cain revealed he just helped a little with making the sword, Tefana almost exploded in embarrassment. In Cain's view, she looks gloomy, so he told her he would spar with her from time to time when she gets used to it. With a red tomato face, Tefana responded that she was really happy. Suddenly, a knight informed them that they were in trouble because a huge group of monsters was on the road. They went outside and saw a pack of lizards. Cain offered some help, but Tefana declined it, claiming it was their mission, and asked him to heal the wounded. She unsheathed her sword and let him know she would use it. She then commanded the Squad 3 to prioritize protecting Lord Cain and the wounded. The remaining knights will move out to eliminate the monsters. While Cain was healing the wounded, he couldn't help but become impressed with his darling because she wasn't just a knight captain, but also a swordswoman. She is also brave, refined, and beautiful. Tefana told her comrade to stand back and then struck her sword towards the enemy. Seeing the smile on her darling's face, Tefana looked at him with a smile and stated that they had done it. Back at the Royal Capital Guild, Eden thanks Cain and apologizes for everything. He told Cain that Tefana may not show it, but she's actually quite delicate. She also looks happy and heard that she's been taking care of the sword every night until late. Cain was glad to hear that, and then handed him the requested item. Eden was speechless to see that he had really fulfilled the impossible quest, and thanked him for his hard work. When Cain left, Eden now understood why his sister chose him. Cain was quite the intriguing young man, and he was looking forward to what was ahead. At the Royal Academy, Cain's two fiancées were staring blankly at him, so he asked what was wrong. Silk heard about what happened with Tefana the other day, so Cain told them it was his fault because he is the one who broke it. However, seeing the two seemed confused, he wondered if it wasn't about the sword. Teles heard that they went on a date by a beautiful lake, and then took a long horse ride together. Silk knew Tefana was his fiancée, so it wasn't a big deal, but she still couldn't help feeling jealous. She wanted to have some quiet tea time with him and talk for a bit. On the other hand, Teles wants to have more lovely dates with him too. Realizing he has just been focusing on adventurous work the whole time, Cain apologized to the two and suggested going on a date during the next break. As he thinks of the place where he should date the two, he suddenly bumps into Palma and apologizes. They sat on a bench, and he apologized again for bumping into her because he was zoned out for a second. Palma couldn't believe someone like him also had a moment like that and assumed he was really busy lately. Cain told her it wasn't something like that and asked her about something beautiful because he was looking for some ideas. Palma was puzzled at first, but still answered that she really loved the view from her window after the rain. The town sparkles so beautifully, and sometimes there's even a rainbow. But it was just what she thought, and Cain was still the one to decide. Suddenly, petals of a flower fall on her hair, and when Cain picks it, he recalls a place with flowers. A nice view. Seeing him smile out of the blue, Palma wondered if he was all right. Cain thanks her because he came up with a great idea. Days passed, and it looked like our boy was up to something, and it didn't slip past the eyes of his maids. The promised day had come, and when the two arrived at his mansion, they thanked him for the invitation. Cain complimented their looks and started walking towards the backyard where he had set up everything. Upon arriving at the said place, the two were stunned to see how beautiful the garden was, but it wasn't the beautiful thing he had mentioned. They went inside, and there he showed them the field of pure white flowers. Still, that wasn't all about it. Cain activated the flower's memory, making the place bright, and some blue petals fell to the ground. Now that it was a field of soft, pale blue flowers, they felt as if they were floating in the sky. Haku and Gin were also there, which made the two happier. As they sat, Silk inquired if this flower field was something special to him because he looked really happy. Cain agreed, stating it was a scene he had seen long ago, back when he was still a little kid. The scent of these flowers not only brought back his memories from his childhood in this world, but also his childhood memories in his original world, where his father asked him if the place was beautiful. A while later, as the maid hummed, Butler Colin signaled her to be quiet before they peeked. The maid smiled upon seeing the kid sleeping and wondered what kind of dream Cain was having. At the guild, Cain received a noble escort request, specifically for him to escort a noble. He went to the noble mansion to hear the full details, only to be dismayed because the personal request came from his father. Although he could have just contacted his son, Rain told him Cain was busy and thought it was the best way to secure her brother for a few days. Knowing it's a few days of escort work, Cain wondered if they were going somewhere. Father received an invitation from his friend Sesta and plans on sending Sarah and Reyna to Lindell. He wasn't coming because some problems had arisen in the Gracia territory. Concerned, Cain asked if his father was okay. Father patted his head before responding that he was fine. The day came, and inside the carriage, Millie was uncomfortable riding the noble's carriage. Sarah told her to relax because they weren't strangers. After all, they were Cain's tutors when he was a child. Cain agreed with his mom and sister, adding that it was his father's request. Millie finally relaxed, but wondered why he was riding a horse. Well, he was technically hired as an adventurer this time, and didn't want the ladies to get sunburned. Rain turned to her brother and asked if Lindell had a huge lake. Cain confirmed it and added that the whole town is built around a really big lake. While Rain was so excited to swim there together with her brother, Cain noticed someone ahead. Cain approached the old man, and upon learning that his wagon had broken down, the kid offered to fix it. He activated the material repair and fixed it instantly. The old man was thankful to him and tried to find something to repay him, but Cain insisted that there was no need. The old man gave him a wooden horse he had made a long time ago as a token of gratitude. Cain thanked him, and as the old man left, he warned them to be careful if they were heading to Lindell because the sorrow of the dead returns with the storm. That last word lingered in Cain's mind, and he wondered what it was. They arrived at the Lindell, where a beautiful, large lake is visible. In town, Rain was thrilled to see how lively the place was. They went to a mansion to drop off their things and then stroll into town. After a tiring day, Cain lay on the bed but couldn't sleep. He feels like a kid the night before a field trip. Honestly, he hadn't expected this trip, but it's been pretty enjoyable. He suddenly heard a melody and went outside to find its source. When he finds nothing, he changes into his adventurer clothes and goes out to find where it came from. He reached the lake, but the singing disappeared. As he wondered if it was just an imagination, a girl suddenly appeared near him. Morning came, and Rain was so lively, inviting her brother to swim with her. Sarah warned them not to go too far, and Rain agreed. However, she almost drowned because she didn't know how to swim. Big Bro activates the creation spell to create a bubble. With this, little sis can now swim. Cain looked at the two and wondered why they weren't joining. Millie inquired if it was really okay, because they were supposed to be their bodyguard. Cain told them it was fine, because Sesta arranged the whole beach for them. Besides, the two of them look great together. Just in case, they must keep their magic pouches on them. The two gladly took the offer and went to the water. A sudden gust of wind made Sarah's straw hat fly into the air, but Rain caught it and handed it back to Sarah. Cain remembered the girl from the previous night and recalled what had happened. Knowing that the girl isn't alive, he asks if something unresolved was keeping her there. The girl just stared at him for a moment before shaking her head. When he asked if the singing came from her, the girl started to sing a beautiful sad song. He suddenly felt something, and when he looked at the girl, she pointed to the lake. A strong wind suddenly materialized, and the girl vanished. As he pondered the girl, Rain heard him and asked if he was eyeing someone now. Cain denied it and revealed that it was actually a ghost. He then told them what happened, which made little sister chuckle, teasing her brother for also attracting a girl ghost. Mother Sarah asks about his plan, and he responds that if that girl has lingering regrets, and that's why she remains there, he will help him. After a while, Cain didn't expect things to go smoothly, and was glad that they could now officially act due to the request. He went to the lake with Millie and Nina and stopped in the middle. Millie wondered if this was the place that the ghost mentioned. Cain responded that he had asked Sesta to let him review this town's records. Apparently around this time of year, a storm hits Lindell, and the damage tends to be quite serious. Nina asked, "What does that ghost have to do with all this?" Cain wasn't sure, but there was something that had been bothering him. There's a small village across from the town, and he found a record of a ferry that once sank in a storm on its way there. It happened the day after the town's festival. Ever since then, the ferry service has been suspended during this season. Millie assumed he was considering the ghost girl as one of the victims from that incident. Cain responded that they didn't know her name or anything else at the moment, so he figured the best thing they could do was start checking whatever was possible. The big question is how they are supposed to search the entire lake. Well, according to the records, the ferry sank somewhere around here. From here on, they will have to search for it themselves. His suggestion was impossible because, even if they dived, there was only so much they could do. Cain activated the blessing of water and cast it on them. With this, they will be able to move around underwater normally for a few hours, and they can even talk while they are down there. Knowing he had a solution to all, Millie promised to shut her mouth from now on. They went underwater and started searching. However, after a while, they were unable to find it. Cain realizes that searching for a sunken ship from decades ago at the bottom of this lake might be a bit too much, even for him. Since the magic effects were about to wear off, he suggested heading back to take a break. Suddenly, the flow of the water changed and Cain couldn't breathe. They were sunk to the bottom, and when he opened his eyes, he found himself with the two inside the cave. He was relieved that the two were just unconscious and used his healing magic to heal them. When the two woke up, he apologized for not noticing it sooner, but Millie told him she was fine and asked where they were. Cain concluded they were in a cave somewhere beneath the lake. Cain started to walk and realized that if they ended up being washed into a place, then the ferry they were looking for would also be there. He cast a glowing ball and saw the sunken ferry. Nina inquired what exactly they were supposed to be looking for. For now, they will simply take anything that looks important back with them. As they began searching, Cain wondered why that girl had appeared in the first place and why she had chosen him. When the girl materialized, he questioned if her wish lay there. He started to move the scattered wood to find the exact thing she wished for. However, the fairy suddenly shook, so he went outside to check what was happening, only to find the two girls captured by legendary tentacles. Seeing it was a giant octopus, Caine wondered if the cave was actually its nest. Chapters end at 14. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you love this manga. Have a good day.